Hello, this is the Reverend Dr. David Chotka of Spirit Equipped Ministries. There's an old Yiddish proverb that makes me chuckle. I love to say it because its truth is profound. If you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans. There was a certain lawyer who lived in Paris, France. His name was Jean Raffray, and he was a very, very good lawyer, particularly in his area of expertise. And one day he received a call from someone who was very old and needed to get a will in order. It was a lady who was just about 91. She was quite ill and she didn't have a lot of resources. She was too sick to go and see the lawyer in Paris, and so he was kind enough to visit her in her apartment in Arles, France. On entering the apartment, he discovered that he actually kind of liked the place. The lady had a lifelong lease, and the payments that she was making took up the larger part of her income. The apartment itself, however, was beautifully situated with a lovely view of the River Seine. And as Raffray went about his work, he began to admire the dwelling, and in particular the location with the beautiful view of the river. Well, as it turned out, the two began to speak about her heirs and the apartment and so on, and the costs. None of her descendants wanted to take up the lease and move in, and if she passed away, the owner of the apartment block would be able to rent it out to whoever he wanted to. So somehow in the middle of things, Raffray found himself making an offer. He asked if he might transfer the property deeds to himself if he agreed to pay her rental on the unit for the remainder of her days. He indicated he would absorb the cost of the legal work, get the will done, etc., etc. He would draw up a contract in which he would take possession of the apartment after she passed away. Now, the lady was quite ill. She was just on the edge of 91. She didn't have anything in the way of resources, and she had no compelling reason to keep the apartment. And so she agreed. Now, Raffray on his part used all the skills of what it means to be a very fine lawyer, and he bound himself into a binding agreement that was absolutely airtight, hermetically sealed. There was no escaping this. Neither party could exit the agreement. And the bottom line was that he would pay her monthly fee for the rental, which was about, in those days, $500 US at the time. She would continue to live in the unit until she passed away, and upon her demise, she waived all rights to any heir or any person from her estate making any kind of claim against the apartment itself. Now, all of the charts and all of the graphs and all of the tables said that Raffray would have to wait a year or two. It might happen quickly, it might be 3 years, but he was in no hurry. And it was clear that he had made a wise deal that would benefit both parties. Himself as the one who'd receive a beautiful place above the river, and her so that she wouldn't have to pay any more of that lease. And he was 47 years of age. He was in excellent health. She was in 91, and she was failing. 30 years. Did you get that? 30. 30 years later, Jean Raffray was still paying. She recovered. And in those 3 decades, he paid out the equivalent of $180,000 US. You see, he made the deal with a French lady by the name of Jeanne Calment. Calment was on record as the oldest human being with a verified, documented birth record in world history. Raffray died at the age of 77, and it was fully a year and a half before Calment herself passed away at the age of 122 years and 168 days, or if you want to use the Bible phrase, old and full of days. In fact, because Raffray was such a very good lawyer, the deal that he struck up required his estate, after his demise, to continue paying rent into her apartment after he died. Perhaps he should have read this scripture from the book of James. It's from chapter 1, verse 10. Let the one who lives in humble circumstances take pride in his high position. Let the one who is wealthy take pride in his low position, because he'll pass away like a wild flower. Can you hear the Yiddish joke? If you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans. Well, let me quote the Eugene Peterson paraphrase kind of translation of James as he talks about human achievement from chapter 4. Human achievement, of course, and the plans of God. This is the Message translation. And now I have a word for you who brashly announced today or at the latest tomorrow, we're off to such and such a city for the year. We're going to start a business. We're going to make a lot of money. You don't know the first thing about tomorrow. You're nothing but a wispy fog catching a brief bit of sun before disappearing. Instead, make it a habit to say, if the Master wills, and we're still alive, will do this or that. As it is, you're full of your grandiose selves. All such self-importance, vaunting self-importance is evil. In fact, if you know the right thing to do and don't do it, that too for you is evil. The book of James understood the shortness and the uncertainty of human life. James understood that God is the one who levels the playing field, and we would be wise to make plans, trusting that God is guiding and always making sure that we're in submission to Him. If you want to receive weekly blogs rather, you can go to www.spiritequip.com, sign in the opt-in section, or you can go to the YouTube channel Spirit Equip Ministries and you can receive a notice anytime one of these videos becomes available. This is the Reverend Dr. David Chotka, and I wish you all the very best in these days.